Hi guys and welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's been quite a minute since I last put up a video on my channel. Um, I have been busy, really busy. Well, not personally busy, but school is about to start in September, and I'm just trying to get things together, and also I've also had some friends staying with me for a while now. It's been like about a week or so. So yeah, I haven't been able to I haven't been able to film, and stuff because the house is very busy. It's been active and nice lately. But yeah, I do not have that quiet to film for now. I do not have that quiet space or quiet atmosphere to film. But luckily today I'm off and I do not have anywhere to be and I'm the only person in the house. So yeah, this video has been a long time coming. So that's why I'm putting it out here today. Okay, so saying I actually do feel quite nervous because it's been a long time since I put up a video, especially a sit down video. I haven't done that in a while. The last video I did was sitting down, was I think personal, about my personal challenges since coming to Canada, right? Like since I've been for the 6 months that I have been in Canada, the personal challenges and things I have faced, or things I considered a personal challenge to me, right? So this video is, as you can tell from the title, it's kind of like it is a personal evaluation video. Um, like I told you guys before, or if you've been following me on my channel, you would know that I'm someone who is very organized, right? I do not like to be in the dark about things I'm doing or where I am or where I want to be. I like being informed. So yeah, so because of that, my life pattern follows that. Like everything I do, follows that. And it's still a value, a personal value that I am trying to build, being aware of who I am right now, being aware of who I want to be, and trying to bridge that gap every single day in my decisions every single day. Um, is that something I value personally, right? So being organized and being aware of these things in the different aspects of my life is definitely should naturally come to me, right? Should definitely be what I should be about. If I'm someone who is organized, then I should be someone who, if I'm someone who loves organization, then I should be someone who, is organized in every aspect of my life. And I'm not just saying like rigid, I'm not that kind of person that I do not want to be that kind of person who is so rigid that like my organization, is so rigid and not flexible, but to an extent, I believe every person, even if you're not someone who is, always goes by the book and everything, I think yeah, every person who wants to head somewhere or, has a vision for themselves or a goal for themselves basically at the end of their life or living their life or is living with a goal should be able to sit down and know where he or she is at this point, where they want to be, and what to do to bridge that gap, right? If they are not already where they want to be, right? So, of course, whilst being happy and whilst appreciating the journey and the process, right? So that being said, that was just like a foundation for this video. This is a personal evaluation video. If you're not aware, we have 4 months to the end of the year. I I don't know what to say. I wasn't aware. I've been aware throughout the year, right? Because I have been, kind of like evaluating myself every month or let's say every quarter, right? And basically, being my next evaluation is supposed to happen at the end. It's coming up at the end of August, because I divided the year into three for me. So my first evaluation was in April. So the first quarter from January to April, I did an evaluation in April. Um, Crossed some I's and dotted some T's. So my next evaluation is in August, and then my last evaluation will be in December, going into the new year. So I I want to be aware of where I am right now and how I can better myself, better place myself to attain the things that I want to attain or achieve the things that I want to achieve, both personally and community wise, worldwide. So yeah, in respect to that or to that effect, I personally have, I want to share with you guys what I do in my personal evaluation or tips, something that could help you with your personal evaluation, right? Um, I do not have a lot of things that I'm doing as a person, right? For now, I do not have a lot of things that I'm doing as a person. I don't think I'm someone who would, I, from my kind of personality, I'm not someone who would venture into a lot of things. There are people that do that, which is fine, by the way. They are into this, they're into that, they're into this, they're into that. I personally am not that kind of person. I like to find one thing and stick to it and do it well, right? Yeah. So basically, my life is created around 5 to 6 different spheres that I divide, that I there are like 5 to 6 divisions, right? That I used to grade myself, that I used to evaluate myself. So I'm going to be starting from the first up until the last but not the least, obviously. And I will tell you guys how I divided them, right? So the first is the spiritual aspect of my life. And in the spiritual aspect, I divided into each of the different aspects of my life at the beginning of the year when I was making my goals and looking into the year what I wanted to achieve in these different aspects. I divided them into goals, and from the goals I brought out the plans, and then from the plans I brought out the routines, right? So yeah, if you watched the video where I was talking about I think how I got good grades or something like that, or how to get good grades, um I talked about structures and routines in one of the tips, right? That having a goal is not just enough, having a target is not just enough, but then sometimes even without the goal, just having a particular routine gives you the goal, right? Even if you forget about the goal, just immersing yourself in the routine of achieving that goal gives you the goal, right? So basically, that's why I divided into goals and plans, and I didn't just stop at plans. I had to also go into the routines, because eventually along the way I'm not going to be aware of all these things, right, every step of the way. But then if these things become my routine, then eventually I would achieve the goals that I want to achieve even without remembering that, oh, I once had this goal. But because the routine has become my lifestyle, I naturally would come into that goal or come into that space or sphere that I or vision that I saw myself being in, right? So yeah, that's kind of like a background for you guys so you can understand how this is going to be. um so the first aspect I would advise anybody, watching my video, like I said, I am a Christian. I believe in Jesus Christ. I believe that Jesus died for me. He resurrected and gave me a new life, and I am living this new life that I'm living in Him and through Him. So I'm a very spiritual person. I believe in faith so much, faith in Jesus. So the spiritual aspect of my life is really, really important to me, because basically that's where the other parts of my life rest upon, right? That's where I draw inspiration from the other parts of my life, basically. So that's basically the foundation for me. So it cannot be faulty. It shouldn't be allowed to be faulty. If not, the other aspects won't stand, right? So yes, I made some goals concerning the spiritual aspect of my life, the spiritual part, improving daily, to see that I improve daily in my spiritual walk, in my faith in God. Um, One of the things I said was, reading books on my faith, basically read 6 books on the basics of the Christian faith. So to better understand this faith that I believe in, to better understand Jesus, to better understand God, to better understand His principles, to better understand the kingdom, right? Um, you have to also, if you're someone who is, you have to be progressive. If you're someone who is kingdom minded, you have to be progressive. You should be someone who also wants to grow, right? So yes, reading books on the Christian faith in order to enlarge my mind, in order to understand things about the faith, Um, also, listening to messages, right, was also one of my goals. Listening to messages, um, 12 times monthly. So these things are like my personal goals. I don't know. I don't think I won't be able to share every single one of them with you guys because there are a lot of them are personal. But then I'm just going to give you guys examples so you can, from there you could draw your own personal, goals. Because everybody we're all in a different, um, you know, stage, different level. We're all in a different walk in our faith life, in our spiritual life, in our academics, our businesses. We're all in different levels, right? So, yeah, more of a lot of these things are personal, but you can draw inspiration from there, right? So the first thing, like I said, was reading books. The second thing was listening to messages, right? Kingdom messages, listening to messages from my pastor, listening to messages from even other fathers of the faith, right? Um, just to grow my faith, right? From majorly listening to messages from my pastor, right? You have to grow in the space that God has placed you in. You can't expect yourself to be jumping around and you expect yourself to grow well, right? You have to stick to a diet so that you can see results. Um, Also, personal retreat, having a personal retreat, also days of fasting, also praying more consistently, fasting more consistently. That one I have struggled with. I will confess I have struggled with throughout this year. Studying the word more, right? Growing in my understanding of the word of God. Yes. So, and then I broke it down to plans, right? Read one. The goal for me was to read 6 spiritual books by the end of the year. So, if I'm going to read 6 spiritual books by the end of the year, then for 6 months I should read. Then in 6 months I should have read 6 spiritual books, right? So yeah. So I broke it down into, the plans was to read one spiritual book every 2 months, listen to at least 3 messages weekly, um, pray at least 1 hour daily, fast once every week. That I have struggled with. Um, a deep study of the word at least once every week. So those were my plans, right? And then in my routines, that was where I actually wrote down the structure. Read one spiritual book in February, in April, in June, in August, in October, and in December. So I had to be specific with these things, right? So that I know what I'm doing when the time comes. And sometimes I'm saying these things could change, right? But then you have to have something solid, right? So that even if things are changing, you could always go back to the board and redraw and rewrite, right? Um, Listen to P's messages on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. So which makes it 3 messages, right? That was part of the plan. Listen to 3 messages every week. So um, pray 1 hour every morning from 6 to 7 a.m. Which I don't necessarily stick with the time, right? It may not always be 6 to 7 a.m. depending on. It's not. I don't know. Some people, it's advisable to stick to a particular time, right? 5 to 6 a.m. I mean, it helps, and if you also have an understanding of times, right? Um, Praying at certain times gives you more advantage, and more gives more advantage basically than praying at certain times, right? I'm not saying you pray anytime, you can pray anytime, right? But um, just basically, I'm just talking about times and seasons, right? times and seasons differ, right? Not all times are the same. We have, the Kairos times, those are like important times, right? Like VT was saying, Vusi Tembekwaya was saying, where he talked about Chronos and Kairos, right? The Chronos time, the Chronos, as we know it in the natural sphere, is time, right? And then the Kairos is time in. That's how he says it, time and then time in, right? So time and timing, right? So Chronos is time, Kairos is timing, and we all know that God works in time in, right? Timing, seasons, right? Um, yeah, so basically that's why I'm saying I would love to have a particular time to always do it 5 to 6 every morning, but sometimes my schedule doesn't work with that. I don't allow that to disrupt me, right? I still pray when I get up in the morning. So yeah, I'm trying to remember where I was. Yes, so that's that on the spiritual, aspect, deep study of the word, on Saturdays for at least 3 hours. So sometimes when I'm off, what I do is that I study the word for a really long time, like quality time, right? I could be reading my Bible for 2 to 3 hours because I've been at work throughout the week or and things like that. So basically, I use that I spend that time with God, catch up with God, basically, right? It's kind of like catching up with my friend, catch up with God, study the word very deeply because throughout the week I don't have time. I don't have that luxury of studying the word for 3 hours, right? In the mornings because I'm going to work. But on days when I'm off, I try to do that at least like 2 hours at least studying the word and praying. And then, so the next part is my academics. Because I'm still a student, this is a very important aspect of my. If you're not a student, you don't have anything to do with academics. It shouldn't be, it's not part of your sphere, right? So the second sphere of my life right now is my academics. I also had goals, plans, and routines. Some of my goals are, getting to nursing at the end of my first year, which we are still working into, have a GPA of 3.5/4, which is also what we are still working. Um, have 4 A's in my courses, which okay, we've done that for the first semester, but the next semester we also need to plan for the next semester also. Um, and then plans. The plans were get all my assignments, tests, quizzes done on time and in good quality also. Get a little bit personal with my lecturers, ask and answer questions in class, which went well. Visit the academic advising unit before February and get advice concerning my next steps, which I've done. Research schools that offer nursing that I can apply to, which I was currently doing this morning actually before I started this video. So yeah, those are the plans. And then my routines were going to my class, going for classes, doing my assignments at the required dates. Um, so basically, you understand what I'm trying to say. All the spheres are broken down into goals, plans, and routines. And then the third sphere of my life was purpose/ministry. Um, I'm a very strong believer, right, that we that everybody was created for a specific purpose or is created for a specific purpose. It might not be a specific thing, right? In my journey, I have been so focused on what is that thing, right? It's specific, right? But like, yeah, researching about this topic of purpose, and it's something right now, it's something that is clouding a really really big aspect of my life right now because the next decade of my life basically depends on this, right? I can't joke with purpose, destiny, my calling and things like that. So everybody's created, was or is created to do something. There is a good, right? Like the book I just finished reading, Things That Matter. There is a good that everybody's created in the world to do. And basically, eh, you should find your purpose. You should discover your purpose, right? it's not something so far fetched. I am still in the process, and I'm still in the journey of finding my purpose, right? The reason why I said it's not, it couldn't, it sometimes will not be like just one thing that you should do all the rest of your life, right? Because your purpose could change depending on the phase that you are in, right? So if you're current, right? If you're current with God, if you're current with God, and all right. So I'm sorry for that interruption. I just had a call with my mom. Today's her birthday, so yeah, I was called to give a toast, right, through the phone. So yes, what I was saying, yeah, I was talking about purpose, right? And I was saying that sometimes, or many times, our purpose are different, right? The purpose of our lives are different at different stages of our lives, right? So what God may be telling us to do in the now, or what God wants us to do in the now, may not be the same thing that He would want us to be doing in the next 10 years or 5 to 10 years. So basically you have to be current with God and know what He wants you to do at this time, and immerse yourself in doing that, moving along with God per time, right? And for some people, God would want them to do, God would have them do the same thing for a long stretch of time, right? For a really, really long period of time. So you have to know what it is that God wants you to do, right? You have to know you have your relationship with God is personal. Nobody can come and tell you your purpose, right? That God is the only person that can direct you that way, because He's the one that created you. He is the one that gave you the purpose, right? So you can't find purpose in any other thing but in Him, right? Um, all right. And I think another thing I would also like to say concerning this issue of purpose, because honestly, there's actually, I feel a lot of people are also confused. I mean, I was also confused at the point. I don't know everything. I'm still learning about it, but from the things that I have come to know, um, instead of struggling and saying you don't have a purpose, so therefore you're not going to do anything, you're not going to move, there's nothing you can do, you haven't found a purpose yet, you haven't found that thing that you've been called to do. um Serve. That's just one thing I know that doesn't have a downside, right? um Serve. If you are still finding your purpose, if you are still confused on where you have been called to, serve in this life, you have been called to be in this life, or who you've been called to be in this life, and where you've been called to use your talents, serve wherever, in whatever sphere, or whatever space you find yourself in, be it in church, be it in school, be it in your workplace, be it in an organization. Just serve, right? Serve. In serving, you would find your abilities, you would find your talents. In serving, at some point, sometimes it happens that people would even begin to tell you, this is what you're really good at. You're really good at this. And then you begin to say, oh, you begin to actually see that, oh, okay. And then it narrows down the focus for you. It's no longer like a huge, thing. Now your focus is being narrowed down, and you're seeing that people are actually testifying that you are good at this. You are good at this thing, right? So, yeah, so serve. So as you move, you get clarity. That's one thing my mentor said. Um, so as you move, you get clarity, right? You don't just stay there and say you're stuck, right? You won't find clarity in just staying in one place. Begin the journey. The steps get clearer as you go, right? You find more clarity as you go. Um, and then the next thing, I think this is the fourth, right? Relationships. Um, I value relationships. I value relationships. Though I'm not good at making them, I don't think I'm so good at making them. But the ones I already have, and the ones that are important and dear to me, I value. Um, and I put time and work and effort into keeping these relationships, right? Um, basically, and these relationships are not just personal relationships. Like for me right now, I'm not a business person. I do not have a business I own. Um, I don't think I'm going to have a personal business in the future. I am not someone who is an entrepreneur. an entrepreneur or someone who's called to the business fair. So basically, I do not have business relationships and things like that. If you are someone who is called into business or someone who is much more older or someone who is much more advanced in life, you have different kinds of relationships, right? You have your business relationships, where you have your work partners, your colleagues, and sponsors, strategic relationships, things like that. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, right. So, but basically, I have relationships that I, by God's grace and by His mercies, I have come to enjoy. I have come to have. He has come to like give me and bless me with in this life, and so those relationships that I already have, I'm watching. I try my best to water, and also when I was also making these plans, one of the things my mentor was also telling me, as I was going over my plans with her, she was also telling me, about strategic relationships. There are some, if you want to grow as a person, you should, yeah, there are some certain relationships that they're not basically personal relationships, but these relationships are, I would call them strategic relationships. It's not like you are it's not a parasitic kind of relationship. You're not going into the relationship because definitely you want something from each other, right? It's mutual. You are both benefiting from each other, which is how every relationship should be. But you know that this is a strategic relationship, right? You are not. It's not an ingenuine kind of, you're just only going to this person because you need this thing. But far from that, it's a strategic relationship, right? We are coming into this relationship because we are benefiting from each other. We are on par with each other and things like that. So that aside, for my relationships, these ones are now personal relationships. I do not have any business relationships for now. Um, um, so yeah, one of my goals was, to be a better listener and to be more empathetic in my relationships, in all my relationships. Yeah, to be a better listener, because actually I'm someone who talks a lot. I talk a lot. When I was just looking at myself, when I was, sometimes when I do like a personal reflection, which I believe everybody should have and do, um, at those times I get to see my faults, right? I know there's some faults I'm not aware of, but I like being aware of the ones that I'm aware of, right? That I can be aware of. So I know I talk a lot. I can tend to talk a lot. If I don't, watch myself, if I'm not aware, I can tend to talk a lot. It takes consciousness for me to be like, okay, this is not the time to talk, right? This is time to listen. It also takes consciousness for me to know that sometimes people just want to call and talk. You don't have to um, necessarily give them an answer or give them a solution, which is what I always used to do. Um, I'm a like fix it kind of person. I don't like having problems, right? Like, right. Once you tell me there's a problem, my next instinct is how can we fix it? What's the solution? I do not want to, wallow in that period of, oh, there's a problem, the problem is so big, looking at the problems from different angles and wallowing in the problem, right? My own thing is always, once you tell me the problem, what's the solution, right? And I can also be quick to get irritated with people who, which is not, it's not a bad thing, right? When you're facing issues and you're down, you're sad because of the issues. Before I used to get irritated by that, right? I'm like, what's the point? Just look for the solution, right? But that's part, that's why it's part of my goals. Be more empathetic, right? Um, yeah, not everybody is something I'm also coming to realize. Not everybody is like me. I can't expect everybody to think the way I do, act the way I do. We were all brought up from different homes, different backgrounds. People think differently, basically, right? It's a huge realization for me this year that people think so differently than you do, and you have to put that into consideration when you're dealing with people, which I never used to do before. Yeah, so basically, that's why it's one of my goals, right? To be a better listener. I don't need to talk all the time. Sometimes we just want people to listen, right? Sometimes my friend calls me, my best friend Paula, she calls me and then she just, if she's angry, she just rants and everything. And I never used to understand it before until I needed to rant, right? And I did not need solution. I just needed someone to listen, and everything. So, yeah, that's a good one. Um, Also being more open and welcoming to the idea of new friendships, right? Like you guys have said it how many times on this channel. I would rather stick with the people I know. I am a very can be a very strict person, right? When it comes to my rules, my personality, my the way I live my life, blah blah, blah and things like that. Sometimes it makes me very rigid and not open to opportunities. Also, stick to the people I know, stick to the relationships I already have. I'd rather do that, than building new ones and stuff like that. And I'm not saying to always go out there and and be looking for new relationships and all, but uh, it was just for me. This goal was for me was not be too rigid, right? Especially when I was coming into a new environment that I would want to just stick with the old people that I already know, and then close my mind off to the new opportunities and the new relationships that I could build, you know, right here. So that was why that was also part of the goal for me. Um, Also help my friends achieve their goals to the best of my capacity, right? In any way that I could help, I also want to be of help to my friends, right? It's fun when you and your friends are growing, not just you alone, right? So that when you guys, I don't even want to say when you guys eventually get there, because is there any getting there really? At this point, my priorities are changing. The way I'm seeing success is changing. The way I'm seeing, you know, um, I mean, a lot of things are changing for me because I'm reading up, and also this year I'm not really content with reading a lot of books. I'm really content with the books that I read. I want to implement them. I want to implement them, right? It's reading a lot of books, good, right? It's good, right? I admire people who do that. Oh my God, there is this guy, and I know he reads. This guy reads, right? I would love to do that, but for me, I'm not all about reading a lot of books, but you know, the ones that I have read, I want to see the results, the fruits in my life before I move on to another book or move on to another, another reading another book or gaining another knowledge, right? When I haven't implemented the one that I just gained, right? Oh yes, and also another goal for me was being a better child, being a better sibling, and also being a better mentee to my mentors, right? Because I feel like sometimes we forget that we are people's children. We forget that we're also people's siblings. We make goals for our other relationships, like work relationships, our friendships, people who are not related to us by blood, right? And I'm not saying that people who are not related to you by blood cannot be your sibling or your family and stuff like that, but I'm talking of your siblings now, your family. They also need the best of you, right? They also need the best of you. So, in as much as you're trying to give the best of you to other people, wouldn't it be more fulfilling and wouldn't it make more sense if the people closest to you also get the best of you, right? Even if nobody else gets the best of you, the people closest to you, your family, if you're married, your partner, your kids, your children, if you're not, your siblings, your dad, your parents, right? They get the best of you. You yourself get the best of yourself, right? Um, So yes, being a better child, being a better sibling, being a better mentee, and that those are just the goals, right? So I had to break them into routines. When it comes to being a better listener, being more empathetic. One of the things I wanted to include into my routines, I didn't even make plans for this one. I just from the goals I just brought about my routines, right? Was one of the things that was to ask questions to be sure we're on the same page. When people are talking to you and people are ranting, and then not just people are talking, right, and you're just assuming, right? Assumptions can be costly, really costly. Um, so it can be difficult to you know it can be difficult to ask difficult questions, but they have to be asked, right? You have to ask them. That's why they're difficult questions, but you have to ask them in order for your relationships to thrive better. You have to do those difficult and have those difficult conversations, right? So Ask to be sure you're on the same page with the person. If the person is talking about something you don't understand, ask to be sure that this is what the person is saying. You're on the same page, right? Um, Ask if they would want you to do anything, right? Ask if there is any way you could help. Do they need your help in the first place, right? Or they just want you to listen, right? Ask, ask. So one thing I'm still learning, ask. Um, yeah. Also, go out and have fun with people. That was one thing I did not do for like the past 4 to 5 years of my life. I was very strict. It was just from school to home, sometimes to church, to if I didn't have any events, I was not going out, right? If I didn't have any events that I considered valuable, I was not going out, right? So I was just very, very, very rigid. So one of my things this year was, go out, go out. That's why some days I just take myself out. Sometimes I hang out with friends, have sleepovers. So just go out, be more engaging with people. Not to the point where you lose yourself though, right? But just having the right amount of fun, right? Um, checking in on my friends, either weekly or bi-weekly, knowing where they are, how they are doing, if there's anything I could do to help, if there's any need that I could provide for them, if there's anything I could do for them. Um, then the next part was or is my finances. Um, yeah. So basically, for my finance, I haven't had like a like stable source of income for quite some time. I mean, in a lot of years. So like you guys are well aware, I'm working right now, so my source of income is quite stable. It's not like it's a huge source of income, but I'm earning constantly, and which was one of my goals at the beginning of the year to earn consistently, right? Earn consistently from May to August, which I was successfully able to do, and um yeah, I think also, anyways, that this I would also check that out during my August evaluation if I would want to keep doing that throughout the end of the year. That's why personal evaluations are really, really needed, because you can't wait. You can't make plans in January and wait all the way to December to evaluate yourself. You would find out that so many things you said you would do, you have not done, right? And that's the advantage of having, personal evaluations at you could do it once, you could do it like in the middle of the year, right? I like doing mine to be more consistent and see if, like when I did my evaluation in April, I saw that there were some things that I wouldn't even be able to reach at all, or I wouldn't be able to do no matter how hard I worked at it till the end of the year. I just crossed it out, right? It also removes, the whole guilt and everything that you're going to feel at the end of the year, right? If you It removes the whole guilt, right? And lessens the burden. For you if you do personal evaluations, at the middle or sometimes during the year, and not just waiting to the end of the year. So yeah, so that's one of the things I would also look at, check myself well, if I would like to continue earning till the end of the year or not. Well, I should. I also had a savings goal also to reach a particular amount, save a particular amount, which I was also able to do. Also, look into, some investment opportunities, read up, right? At this point, I'm not doing anything with my finances right now. Um, I am basically reading, I am studying, I am learning. Um, that's also one thing I would like to, tell you guys. Um, if I didn't get a job, if I happen to not get a job this summer, what I planned on doing was to work on myself. I wouldn't say just because I didn't get a job, whilst I was still applying for a job, right? I would also be working on myself. I would still be reading, I would still be taking courses, just enhancing my skills, enhancing myself. Um, it's one of the things I also want to, put you guys on, right? If you have not been doing that, if you're not someone who, I don't know, I find it weird now, right? Before I was someone who I never used to read, really. And a lot of people, I mean, I'm not condemning you if you do not like to read, but I think it's a wise thing. I mean, in this day and age and in this era that we are, if you're someone who is really young, I mean, reading should be, part of the things that you should consider doing, right? The 4 months, the first 4 months, I didn't read the books that you know, what's it called now? I associated with those months. I didn't read those books, because I had academics and everything, which was not even an excuse, but let's just leave it for that. I didn't read those books, and I felt like, my mind had what's that thing, degenerated just because I didn't read. I was reading academic books, which is fine, right? That was my priority, but you just can't only read academic books, right? The world is moving, and your mind also needs to be. I mean, if you talk to someone who reads, you will know, right? If you have conversation with people who read, you will know, right? Their mind is more versed. You're talking to some people, and you enjoy. They are on another level. They are on another paradigm. They are seeing things from a different perspective, and you are just stuck in your own mediocre mind, and you're stuck with your mediocrity, and you can just. It's like when I meet people who don't read, it just makes me like, how are you not reading in this time and age, right? I used to be like that, but thank God, like 2020 was when my life, took a new turn. I was back at home, and my mentor then, right? He was someone who encouraged reading. Oh my goodness. My mentor then was my pastor actually. I remember Pastor Hendricks. He was someone who encouraged reading, and I'm like, what is this reading that this man is always talking about? Like, I did not like reading. So far, it's not time to like. I don't need to read for school exams. I don't disturb me with book. When I'm back home, I'm home to rest. Don't disturb me with book. But I mean, when I listen to him talk, I'm like, so during the pandemic, I bought books. My dad bought books. I told my dad he bought books, and I studied. I read. I think that was the year I read like I actually read the 10 to 12 books that I actually said I was going to read. So when I did that, and I saw that was when my mind shifted, the way I talk, the way I used to think. My mind was more open, and I'm like, so no, like looking at myself now compared to then, it's a huge difference, man. I mean, if you had met me, because that was when I was just coming out of secondary school, right? That was when I was in 100 level, right? I did about 5 years in university in Nigeria. So that was about like when I was in 100, 200 level. If you like, you can't even reconcile the me from then to the me now, because I mean, reading does a lot of things to your mind. So if you're someone who is young, and not just even young, a young person, I mean, learning never gets old. Every day you learn, right? So please read, right? Even if you feel like nothing is working out right now for you, you don't yet know what to do. There is no harm in reading, right? Like for me right now with my finances, I will be very honest. I do not know what to do concerning the area of my finance right now. So at this point, I am reading, I'm studying, I'm learning, right? So that when the opportunity eventually comes, I won't be blank. I won't be, I won't be, what's that thing? In the dark about, money. I won't be in the dark about how it moves, the science of money, everything. I'm listening to podcasts concerning money. I'm listening to messages concerning money, even the spiritual aspect of money, right? I'm listening to messages. I'm reading books concerning money. But currently the book I'm reading for this month is a financial book, right? Because I divided my months, January spiritual book, February a personal development book, March a relationship book, April a what's the other aspect? April a personal development book, May a what now? A finance book. So I'm just saying them off head. That's not how I actually divided them. Each month had a specific kind of book I would read. So this month is I think this one was supposed to be spiritual, but then something got mixed up. But then I had to switch, and then I'm reading a financial book, right? So right now I'm currently reading the psychology of money. I wouldn't say because I'm not investing, I'm not an investor, or I'm not, I don't know what to do with money yet. I wouldn't read up on things like that. That's not a wise thing to do. So for the wise thing to do right now is to read up on where you want to eventually be. right? I was listening to Visit Require this morning, and he was saying, take yourself to spaces, to those spaces that you see, yeah, that's what I'm saying. He was saying, take yourself to those spaces that you already see yourself being in, right? He was talking about how he took his brother, he was having breakfast, and he took his brother to a particular place in Italy or something like that. And, the cars that were parked there were, Bugatti, Rolls Royce, and things like that. And, what his brother said was, what do you say? He said something about poverty, right? Uh, well, I forgot to, he said something along the lines of poverty, right? And it's just putting yourself in that space where you see yourself going, right? So I wouldn't say up until like I start earning, $1 million. That's when I start reading about money. No, that's not the wise thing to do. You start building momentum from now, right? So yeah, that's just the advice I wanted to give you guys personally. For me, read concerning the things that you do not know about or the things you want to know more about. Even if it doesn't look like you have all the resources right now, read, study. Your mind will change. The way you think will change. Yeah, it will change basically. So yeah, one of my goals also was to grow my YouTube to 800 subscribers this year. Looking at it right now, it's not like it's not possible. It's possible. I mean, if maybe one of my videos go viral, but this thing about viral. At this point, I'm just like, you know, it's good when your things go viral, but how sustainable is that? Those things only last once a while, right? They only last for a period, and before you know it, someone else is trending. So I do not want to, put myself in that situation. I want to grow my channel genuinely. I'm not saying being viral is not genuine, but you get, um, I want to see the growth of my channel. That's what I'm trying to say, right? People viewing my channel because they actually like my content, right? Um, yeah, they actually like the content that I serve, right? The content that I put out, the content that I give, and it helps them, right? So that's my goal, right? That you watch my videos and you become more inspired to go in pursuit of your own goals, right? Um, yeah. And then the next aspect of my life was, or the next sphere, I like calling them spheres, the different spheres of your life. So the next sphere of my life, I think that's the last, yeah, is the sixth one is personal growth slash development. Um, yeah, one of my goals was read, yeah, two books on character. I mean, personal growth slash development. That encompasses reading all the books. Reading all the books. Reading books for me improves my personal state. Personal growth development. But in those books, two books are supposed to be on character, like personal character, building your personal character, and basically your person, right? Character. They're supposed to be on character development. Um, so which was what I did last month, which was things that matter. That was why I picked that book called Things That Matter. And the next one I was also supposed to read was Love People, Use Things, right? But I had to return it. I didn't end up reading that book because I didn't stick to the time that I gave myself to read the book, so I couldn't. And I had to read the financial book this month, so that's why I had to go with Psychology of Money. But basically, yeah, that was also one of the plans for for personal growth slash development this year. Um, One of the things that I would like to do would be in also relating to personal development and personal growth. One of the obvious things to do is also, improve my skill set or like improve my basically, you know, take courses to improve my skill sets, improve myself. Um, I don't know. I don't know how that's going to work out because the year's almost over. At this point, for the last 4 months of the year, I am going to solely focus on because I'm planning on getting into nursing next year. So all my energy has to go to that. I don't think I want to share my time with taking extra courses, personal extra courses. I don't want to do that. I don't think I'll be able to handle it. I'm going to be truthful to myself. I won't be able to handle it. Um, but if that's what you can do under personal development, that's one thing you can do. Also, part of being of the personal development is also the personal evaluations, right? Having the personal evaluation of yourself. Right? Okay. So some of the other tips that I would also like to give you guys, before I end this video, will be these are things that as I'm talking with my mentor, sometimes she says them, or she like gives them to me as an advice, right? Based on the talk that we just had, or based on probably mentors are people who have gone ahead of you. They see what you cannot see. So yeah, so I would like to share some of them with you guys, and some of the things I think would resonate with you guys. Um, she said, be careful not to push people away that can become a good relationship in the long run. Like I always say with association, right? Um, you should be careful with your association. I know when I was talking to you guys about being open to new friendships and new relationships, with people and everything. Um, you're not throwing caution to the wind, number one, but you're not also being too rigid, right? You want to be able to be flexible in the right way, right? So, yeah, being careful not to push people away that could become, a good relationship in the end, a good, two could become your good friends, good partners, good, you know, work colleagues at the end of the day. So be careful in your trying not to, in your trying to be safe, don't push people away, right? Um, there should be a right amount of push and pull, right? That's what I'm trying to say. Another thing is in the multitude of counsel there is safety. This one specifically comes from the Bible, right? Um, I don't know. For me, I would just forever be a person who believes in the power of mentorship, right? Having someone who looks, who you look up to, right? Or who looks out for you, right? Um, there is always safety in the multitude of counsel, right? Um, you don't know everything. Um, you are a human being. You are prone to making mistakes. Um, these are things you should know, right? These are things you should always be conscious of. But when you surround yourself with counsel, there are some mistakes you wouldn't even make, right? There's some mistakes you wouldn't get to make when you surround yourself with counsel, good counsel, right? Um, there is always safety. There is a lot of wisdom in that. There is always safety. Um, not everybody have this, not everybody should have the same space and same place in your life, right? So that's why they're different and there are multiple levels of relationships, right? There are some people that are even, they're in the coaching level, right? They have people who they are coaching. There are some people who are mentors, there's some people who are sponsors, there's some people who are mentees, right? There are some people who are your friends. Those ones are the people who are on the same level with you in life. There are some people who are mentees, those are people you are mentoring who are a little bit, below, not below you, right? But they're below you, right? You're mentoring them. There's some people who are mentors, people who are mentoring you, right? There's some people who are sponsors, there are some people who are coaches, right? So not everybody has the same space and the same place, or should have the same place in your life. You should know who you should give access to, and the extent of the access, right? Yeah, the extent of the access also. Um, Basically, I'm saying you should know who comes first, right? Um, yes, that's also one thing. And also another thing I also say to you guys that she says to me is you should, irrespective of what you've done or what you've been through or where you are right now in life, you should come to love the totality of who you are. I used to do this thing before where uh I just remembered I used to do this thing before where I used to be so angry with the mistake that I made in the past, right? Let's say I didn't do something right or something. I would be so angry with myself. And sometimes I didn't even know it led to resentment for myself. I didn't even know it was resentment for myself. I had resentment, but I didn't know who or what the resentment was directed towards, right? So that was one thing, she said to me that really, really, like I said, they see where you don't see, right? Everybody has a blind spot, right? Um, so she was like, you come to love the totality of who you are, your past, your present, even your future that you have not seen. Love the totality of who you are, right? I mean, without your past, you would not be here right now. And I just came to understand everybody is unique, right? If you had the exact same experience as another person, then you are no longer you, right? It's no longer you. You are now that person, right? And everybody is unique, right? Your past experiences shape your present, right? Your present actions and your present experiences would shape your future, right? And that's why we all have unique experiences. We all have unique pasts, right? And different experiences, different mistakes, different successes, different failures, right? Um, and that is why we can all contribute in our own unique and specific and special way to the world, right? Um, we can bring our own flavor, right? Because nobody has had the exact same. I was telling my sister this. I was speaking with my sister the other time, my younger sister. I was saying, nobody has the exact same experiences that you have. Nobody has been through. Nobody has had the exact same friends that you have. They've gone through the exact same experience that you have at the same time that you experienced it with the same people that you experienced it, right? So embrace your uniqueness, right? Um, forgive yourself. That's another thing. Forgive yourself. The forgiveness is for yourself before it is for another person. Forgive yourself. Um, yeah, you shouldn't have resentment for who you were or even who you are, right? You shouldn't have resentment, even in as much as you want to improve yourself, right? The fact alone that you are aware of your mistakes, you are aware of where you are right now, even your successes, right? You are aware of what you've achieved and things like that, shows you that you are in a good space right now. Honestly, a lot of people are not aware of themselves. A lot of people are not self-aware or self-conscious. But the fact that you are aware shows you that leadership is leading yourself first. You can't lead other people when you've not first of all led yourself, right? And being aware of your mistakes, being aware of your experiences, being aware of your successes, right? Your personal achievements and everything is leadership in itself. It's self leadership in itself. You're leading yourself, right? So yeah, that's those are like, will I say, the few tips or like the few um pieces of advice that I would give you guys as my subscribers, right? um yeah, I would hope to see you guys in the next video, whatever that may be, whatever content that may be, in whatever time that is. When next I get the opportunity to do a sit down video again, so long as my house becomes quiet, right? All right. Yes, take care and subscribe. Like this video, share, subscribe, and leave a comment if you do have a comment. And also, if you have suggestions on the videos you would like me to make, please, your suggestions are welcome in the comments. And like I always say, be respectful with your comments. If you are not respectful with your comments, I will not answer you. I will not look at your direction, right? Thank you guys for always watching and supporting my channel. See you guys in the next one.